Hi, my name's Andrew Ascough, and I'm going to be talking to you about Unspoken, my short film that I shot for my senior thesis project here at JP Catholic. Unspoken is about a son who is trying to make money to pay for his father's cancer treatment by going and participating in underground fights. So probably not the best way to do it, but it's his only way. So let's dive into this first backroom scene. This is the first time that Kyle has fought in the beginning of the film, and he's in the back just fixing up his wounds and waiting for his manager to come in and pay him for the fight. So what we see here is we see Kyle focused on fixing himself, and but he doesn't realize, in a sense, metaphorically, we're portraying that he is broken. We see that through the mirror that he's looking through. The situation he's in is a very complicated situation that's kind of splitting him apart. And if you look at this split, like right here, it's literally like splitting him in half. It took us a few times to get that mirror cracked. I think we had two massive mirrors. We had like, that means we only had two chances to get the cracks we wanted. And this one turned out to be fine. The first one was completely obliterated. All the panes were falling out of it. It was really, really scary because we got to that second part of glass and we were like, okay, we gotta get this right. So the mirror ended up cracking in some like pretty pivotal points. You can see that this part right here is like completely out, but I think it looked pretty cool. In this first backroom scene, after the first fight, Kyle doesn't really recognize the brokenness. He doesn't actually really have a good look at himself in the mirror because he's soon interrupted by his boss, his fight manager. Paul enters the room through kind of like this shadowy, kind of darkened light. There's just very small like spits of light that kind of catch his head and his arm a bit as he walks through, and it kind of gives us an idea of what type of guy we're dealing with. Is a guy who works in the shadows. Secrets are the enemy of this film because it's about the son keeping secrets and doing these underground fights to make money to help his father, who's keeping a secret from him that he has a terminal illness. So Paul kind of embodies these secrets, and the way we see that is by the way the lighting kind of hits him as he walks into the room. As we go further into this scene, we start to see how Paul and Kyle's chemistry is. So Paul, the fight manager who has him doing these illegal fights, is trying to win his favor because he wants him to keep fighting, because Kyle is his best fighter. So we see that Paul, he's got his eyes straight on Kyle, trying to make contact, but Kyle is, nope, looking at the floor. So we see that Kyle is uncomfortable with his manager, and it kind of gives us an idea of the type of person Kyle is. He doesn't fit in this environment. Kyle is a noble character, and we start to kind of see that there's something noble about him. He's there for one reason, and one reason alone, and that's to help his father. Kyle goes and fights a second time, and this second fight is later on in the film, and it's where he's betrayed by his manager, Paul. He's given less money to lose a fight, and he's not even told that he's going to lose the fight. What happens is his manager, Paul, makes a deal with another fight agent and gets him to bring in a really like big like guy way above his weight, and he pretty much loses the fight instantly, and this is him in the back room afterwards. In this scene we see that Kyle is actually kind of acknowledging the situation he's in. At first we see like the little money that he got, maybe like $200 or $300. So we see him look into the cracks of the mirror and just see how fragmented and how dishonest his life has become. So that visual is kind of a metaphor for that. So you can see it here with the cracks in the mirror, and Kyle's eye line being straight on with the mirror as well, looking right at himself. So after this fight, he goes home and sneaks in, but his dad's actually waiting up for him because his dad's suspicious. And what I wanted to do with this scene is I really wanted to take home the idea that fathers and sons really need to communicate better and really need to communicate more, because Unspoken is about those conversations that aren't had between fathers and sons and how it can build up issues in that relationship. So something I really wanted to portray visually with the blocking is I wanted to have Kyle facing away from his father and the father coming forward to approach his son. So this is a really big leap forward for the father because he's coming from all the way in the back of the house, back here, where this lamp is, and then he walks all the way forward into Kyle's space right here where he is. As we can see, Kyle's eye line's just completely off. He's looking away, and the father's eye line's towards Kyle. So we see that the father's really trying now, and Kyle's just trying to avoid any communication because he's really ashamed. And later on in the scene, Kyle turns around and acknowledges his father, and then they're face to face, and there's this revelation. His father realizes what he's been doing. He finds the money in his bag and puts everything together, and that starts this really tense dialogue between Owen and Kyle, father and son, that later on resolves. But yeah, this scene is a really critical scene. I wanted it to feel, I wanted us to really feel the disconnection there between father and son, and what it's like to withhold information, withhold important conversation in those relationships.
Grey Matters is a film adapted from a short story by Stephen King. It's just a normal day at Henry's bar until suddenly Richie Geraldine's daughter comes in, terrified and bruised. Her far-fetched story about her father concerns Henry, who decides to take his friends to investigate Richie's apartment, hoping to learn the truth about what happened when he spiraled into alcoholism.